All right, as promised, and partly because we're getting near the 20 game mark, so I think this is a good point of the year to look back and say how are teams doing compared to last year. There's some interesting numbers. In blue is this year's record. In red is last year's record. Your plus minus is how many points ahead or behind last year's pace teams are. What stands out to me right away is Tampa Bay's 3 points behind last year's pace because they're that good. They were 13-2-2 out of the gate last year. They're 12-4-1 this year. Toronto was 10-7 last year. They're 11-6 this year. So they're plus 2. Boston was 6-7-4 out of the gate last year. That was an awful start to the season. They're 10-5-2 this year. Much better. Last year, Montreal was 7-9-1. Now they're 9-5-6. Much better start for them. They gained 6 points. Buffalo, they were 5-9-3. Now they're 9-6-2. So the Atlantic Division really has gained a lot of points, and it doesn't stop there. The Ottawa Senators are 5 points down. Detroit's 5 points down, or 1 point down, but Florida's 5 points ahead of where they were last year. So overall, the Atlantic Division has shown a lot of signs of improvement from where they were last year. The Atlantic Division was seen as being the weaker one, and now we got 5 Atlantic Division teams in and only 3 in the Metro. The Metro, Columbus is 1 point ahead of where they were last year. So they're 10-6-2 now. They were 10-7-1 last year. The Rangers are at 9-7-2, exactly the same as they were last year. I've been telling people, just the Rangers want to be lockstep with last season. They had a horrible start like last season. They were on a 6-game winning streak at this point last year. Now they're on a 5-game winning streak this year. They want exactly the same record as last season, which eventually turns to heartbreak. Philly's 1 point ahead of last year's pace. Carolina's 1 point behind last year's pace. The Islanders are exactly where they were last year. And keep in mind, 10 days ago, the Islanders, they were first in their division. Now they're outside the playoff spot. And yet, after tonight's action, they could be up higher than the playoff line. Pittsburgh, 7-5-3, but they're only 1 point short of where they were last year at 8-5-2. The Capitals have the same record. They're 7-6-3. They were 8-7-1 last year, so they're still 1 game above that line. And so it's the same. New Jersey's fallen off 7 points from last year. They've fallen from 9-4-2 to 6-8-1. If we get over to the West, 10-5-2 is the record of Nashville last year. This year they're 13-3-1. So Nashville has the record that Tampa had last season. They're 5 points ahead of last year's pace. The Minnesota Wild were 8-7-2 at this point last year. They're 11-4-2 this year. The Jets, 9-4-3 last year, 10-5-1 this year. Basically a saw-off, the same in terms of being 500. Minnesota 6 points ahead. Dallas 9-8-1 last year. This year they're 9-7-2 for a gain of a point. There you go. That's how that works. Colorado was 9-7-1 at this point last year. They're 8-6-3 this year. So there's no gain and no loss for them this season, and they're at the playoff line. There's 5 Central teams and 3 in the Pacific, which is kind of how people figured it was going to be before the season started. For Chicago, they're 2 points short of where they were at this time last year. St. Louis, this is ugly. They're 8 points short of where they were last year at this time. 8. That's ugly. In the Pacific, the Vancouver Canucks were 9-8-2 last year at this time. They're 10-7-2. They've gained 2 points. Calgary was 10-8-0. Now they're 10-7-1, so they've gained a point. San Jose was 10-8. This year they're 9-6-3. So here's the funny thing. Here's where the loser point, as I call it, and I know people get upset when I call it that, but here's the thing. Last year, San Jose's 10-8. This year, they're 9-6-3, which means they've lost 3 in overtime or shootouts. They're actually a point ahead of where they were last year, even though they've lost more games. Weird. They've won less, they've lost more, and they've got more points. Anaheim, they were 8-8-3 at this time, or they're 8-8-3 now. They were 9-7-3 at this point last year. They've dropped 2 points. Arizona, they're 8-7-1 now. They were 2-12-2 last year. They've gained 11 points from where they were last season. Edmonton Oilers, they're 8-8-2. They were 6-9-2. They've gained 3 points. Vegas, they're 7-10-1. They were 11-6-1. They've lost 8 points from where they were last year. So think about it. If they have the exact same record they had last year from here, they finished with 101 points. So getting to 100 points is going to be difficult for them. Even if they start getting on a roll, They've been below 500 for a little too long. On the LA side of things, right now they're 5-10-1. They were 11-3-2 at this time last year. They've dropped 13 points. So the underlying factors here. Your risers: Arizona's gained 11 points. Buffalo's gained 7. Boston, Montreal, and Minnesota have all gained 6. Nashville and Florida have gained 5. And you wouldn't look at Florida's record and say, oh, well, they're a lot better than they were last year. But they are. The droppers: LA's dropped 13 points. St. Louis and Vegas have dropped 8 points. New Jersey 7. And Ottawa's dropped 5 off the pace they were on last year. And again, with the Ottawa Senators, the interesting thing is they've only lost 1 win off of last year, but they've got 3 less overtime or shootout losses. Remember, at this point last year, the argument was Ottawa's only lost 4 in regulation, Ottawa's fine, and my argument was that was not the case. Now, what stands out to me in this is that the Capitals, same pace as last year. Islanders, same. Rangers, same. Colorado, Winnipeg, same. There are so many teams that you would think they're off to a good start or a bad start, and yet when you look at last year's record through the exact same number of games played, some cases they're actually much better. Let me know which one of these surprised you, which one doesn't, and which one of these teams you think is going to keep it up, and which one's going to turn it around. Be interested to know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.